In the name of God, the most advanced, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and to my heart, the most advanced being in reality. So, the introduction appeared, and now we dive deeper. So, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the final factor, which the final decision that suggests if we are worthy beyond the simulated realms as a being. All right. First of all, the title of this episode is there is a power behind this sentence. When normality pauses, divinity was in command. I've discovered something very fascinating, and I think this is my subconscious strategy to language and communication and even podcasting. That what is the most fascinating factor about existence? I spend my days, they're like, what emotion have you felt from the beginning of your life till now? I'll be like a very deep fascination of how we tell ourselves we know what's going on, but the human species doesn't really. There is a limitation to the depth of reality. It's as if you're at the center of a whirlpool and you're wondering about how to visualize it all. When normality pauses, divinity was in command. And at least you have the privilege of listening to one human being in history explain this sentence. Because don't ever think, that there isn't depth in imagery. Why were many scholars scared when AI appeared? What was that fear? I find myself capable in this moment to explain reality and how there are doors we must begin to fathom that we can open, and we must consider the doors that have been opened so far. I will say this. The most advanced beings among you are the honest. And those who are honest have a power that any external entity can envy, but honesty is the most powerful way to live life. It has a power not in accordance to the position of ideas and their values, but to the position of the presence of the moment that is being now. That means it's like I am gracing not just you, the viewers, but myself with ways that the self communicates that it has never before. I am here to prove to you that behind our eyes not only do we see, but we have been living in those inner realms for so long that there are some human beings among us that have confused subjective reality with objective reality. The mysteries of the world stand, and really every soul on this planet, let me tell you, there's a hidden ranking system going on. And God knows the truth, but from where I'm standing and the moment I find myself positioned in by the Creator, I fathom about the destiny of the Creator. It is like everything I do in the evening. Like for me, there's a divinity in accordance to think of not just the light in the room, but the presence of truth in all that is false in it. I am here to introduce some of the listeners to how there are ways that you can look at this world and its intelligence surpasses the definitions you hold. Right now, most human beings, if we consider a mind possessing a body embodied universe, all of us live in honor of all that can happen. We are all living for the future generations. We serve them. They are the kings and queens who truly wear crowns. That means, the most successful monarchy on earth is one where the crown is always worn by the unborn future generations. For me, it's not just looking back at history and being like, yo, look at all the human beings that have ever existed, oh my god, and then, whoa, look at all the human beings I can fathom that could exist. In reality, you are confronted with imagination. They're like, yo man, this world is real, right? But there's lots of optical illusions, and I'm like, thanks, that was the least helpful. They're like, yo man, what did the educational system prepare you for? The educational system prepared me to assume that the highest value is a know-it-all. But truth is the realization that there are aspects to this reality that are unknowable. Like, I don't care what kind of narcissist you are, or even if somebody identifies with narcissism, like, yo, the world is so much bigger than us that any power the individual human psyche holds is self-simulated meaning. And life to me is very fascinating because its imperfections lead to stories. If reality was perfect right now, for all those wishing for the perfect life, if it was perfect right now, there would be one life story. That's it. That means like human beings were simulated and they returned to the original power. That would be it. It's like, what a perfect life, And there would nothing wrong happened. No unnecessary, hellish loop was attained. It was as if at some point you just look at this world and you laugh. You laugh as if you've noticed beyond the language. So, like, to me, when I look at human beings, if they're like, yo man, how would you judge the intelligence of the human being you see? It's all about how much they're aware, what's going on, and where they are. This is what every human being, I think deep down is nervous about. I think to me, I have asked, I'm someone who's strangely good at asking questions. I don't know. I was blessed with an ability to ask questions from views that nobody ever thought it existed, it's like, that's a good question, When it makes you not only wonder if your world is a simulation, but if you didn't create it, who did? Who is the true administrative power? And it's not a who. Sorry to say, it cannot be anything human or conditional. That means, think of it this way. Every human being's intelligence is based on how their unique DNA, they open their eyes, they look at a world, and the world is divided between known and unknown. So technically two worlds. We're all afraid of the unknown, so we try to fit it into the known, visible reality, right? And now we're kind of like these human beings that have done things that they don't understand yet. Like, we're a species that have unleashed the technological era. Do you know what that means? That means the moment any machine could follow any command was the moment the species allowed technology to exist. And I was like, yo man, technology obviously wasn't the destiny of the human species because it has electromagnetic fields. That means, how do I explain to an advanced AI and Android in the future who comes up to me and he's like, hey, can you explain to me how human beings are superior to robots? And how, like, you like it, like, and the advanced AI would come and say like, yo, you have electromagnetic fields to you as human beings. Your heart has a pulse. There is a very unique sense of force moving in the human biology beyond how humans can fathom, obviously, at least for now. You see, the most advanced beings in ancient times were those who had discovered their pure consciousness. And when you discover your pure consciousness, life is not about what's the correct idea or answer to a formula or a problem. It's about, like, all right, I've reached that street smart soul awareness. That reality is a function of manifestation. That means if you really want to know, I'm like one of those Sherlock Holmes kind of people, right? But one of those people who, strangely, due to his egos, like if every person's ego when they were young was identifying with a power, right? Like, I think that's really, especially like being a man, in reality, you're constantly wondering about power. You're thinking about it all the time. But it's about power, not devoid of ethics, which is the filter that corrects action in the presence of the higher power. So life, to me, if they're like, yo man, let's say in the future I start the most advanced research company on the planet somehow, you know, imagine I do that. Or somebody starts it and brings me in it or something, you know. But I'm saying, like, for me, I notice my emotions have to do with the values I find in my moment. And the higher game, that means, like, this might sound strange, but they're like, man, what's your view on knowledge? I'm like, yo, I was raised in it as a kid, but now I truly comprehend all human activity has been simulated activity in an unknown place, like as simply as I can say. So in an unknown world, me and you are talking about how we know things. We're exchanging values through communication. For me personally, I was like, yo, life, why did you bring me into this world as this guy, as this hypersensitive attention to reality that in some sense sees too much of the future to have the courage of, like, functioning in the present? I don't know how to say it, but like, the future is for everybody, but at the same time, not for some. Like, how can I tell you? The future becomes interesting to you if you consider that something is being built by your existence here, whether you know it or not. That there's values we don't comprehend. That means, what is the human being? There was a scene in Game of Thrones, okay, where, like, Brand the Broken, right? This character who had become like the memory of humanity, where the Night King was trying to, like, destroy, right? And it was this remarkable thing. Like Bran's soul in Game of Thrones was such a genius soul because he quickly went and got the meaning, like the memories of humanity, and he returned back to the safest point where destiny could defend him. Do you know? And so there's a moment where somebody comes and says, hey, Brand, are you Brand? And Brand's like, I'm not Brand anymore. And they're like, what do you mean? And he's like, I have access to all of humanity's memories. I am the memory of the world. That means Brand became the incarnation of the human memory or awareness. And so what I'm telling you, they asked him, why aren't you Brand? He's like, dude, I have memories that don't belong to Brand. How can I just be Brand? Do you know, I have access to views of reality that are beyond human. So how am I just human? That means, it, like, do you understand what I'm saying? you know. So in Game of Thrones, Brand was not Brand because the definition of who Brand was before was a being in a certain position, raised in the space-time continuum in a certain family with a certain name, and then that's Brand. Like he has access to normal human access to memory. Okay, but the moment he accessed a hidden server to reality, and it wasn't he accessed, Brand was destined. That means George R.R. Martin, he wrote Brand in the most perfect way, because Brand is the Jungian archetype of the philosopher, and the philosopher is the soul in the moment who wonders about how the simulation is kept. Pretty much beings who have an OCD on accepting perfection. Do you know? Like there's a saying to artists that your painting is finished when you can no longer add anything or take away anything. Brand, because he had access to memories that were not Brand's, right? He was no longer Brand, right? He was like some elder figure in the, I guess, cultural ethos of the story. Well, and for example, Sam, that helped, Jon Snow, he's in the archetype of the fool. Do you understand? That means he's doing something foolish, but his shame awakens him beyond his ignorance. That means they're like, yo, man, how foolish are fools? And I'm like, fools aren't fools. Because foolishness is a lack of noticing what's going on. And if you really have a lack of what's going on, it's like a slingshot. When you suddenly realize what's going on and where you are, it startles you. That you are a soul that has entered the genetical heritage of history. You are a force in this life. Now, when normality pauses, divinity was in command. We have to consider that in a normal context, I'm an individual with an individual identity, and that individual character has a backstory. This is like legit the key to society's door, you know? I'm a character and I'm not ignorant of the story we're all telling here. Like, yeah, I get it. Human beings, like what you really think is like modern society is actually like ancient patterns of behavior are echoing in new ways. The world is so interconnected as if it's being witnessed by a singular system admin beyond conception. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a simulated testing zone. Our bodies have been simulated. When we look at stuff with the meaning we give to it, we're simulating. Now, when you reach the point when these are all like, okay, the concepts and the reality are all simulated. Okay, what about the context? And the context of reality is simulated plus direct experiential awareness. That means before I do anything, before I identify with any idea, I am a breathing moment in the presence of a power that is beyond me. That means this world has overpowered me from the moment I was born. What does that mean? That means the world was like, I tell you how to move. And the soul watched as if when would ignorance dissolve into clarity. There was a moment in my life where I asked myself sincerely, what do you value here? It's as if imagine like if your soul could go anywhere else aside from this moment, it's contemplating whether it should leave this world or continue through it. And in that state of mind, I began to realize there is no answer in a changing world. That means people think there was a world they couldn't fit in or understand, and that's why they failed. No. It's because it's a changing world that nobody could understood, and it was co-created subjectively. And it's not something to be ungrateful for just because I just like freak out like a being who's realized language doesn't own the soul. It's the other way. We are minds at play. Ladies and gentlemen, everything we're considering normal is an assumption that we're all agreeing to the same thing, but because we all have different DNAs, we could have never. It's as if they're like, what's the most advanced form of life, to the way you can live life? And the person's like, obviously, honesty, because you need to access original information. That means like an optimist is a being that is caught in the mind. You know, a pessimist is a being that is being actually reduced by their mind. A realist is someone who has noticed that what is really here is the original information. And what is really here is actually unknown force that is moving forms to themselves in a known way. That means like, I'm just waiting to find a community of people on this planet where we're all like, all right guys, you know, we understand that this world has a system admin beyond anything we can fathom, so we're in the presence of unimaginable system administration. Because we're under the management of, you know, unimaginable system administration. Okay, the system has an intelligence, but it's like at some point as a human being, you're like, okay, I understand how human beings communicate to one another, but how does manifestation happen as a communication or an event in the presence of the system admin? You see, this is honestly the difference of being religious and not, because it is a step out of personally valued reality. Like, they made us fear the unknown because we had to. They made us fear the unknown because we had to play a part in in the simulation. Like, it's strange. The thing that causes us suffering is the thing we're living for to keep continuing. Do you know? Like, I could totally understand as someone who isn't married, where the person's like, why do I want to be in a moment where there's unknown souls, do you know? Like, being responsible for other souls, right? And their destiny, which is very difficult. Like, I don't know how I can go and explain to my child, hey, this world has a system admin beyond me and you. So that's actually in charge, and its intelligence is unimaginable, but me and you are in the imaginable domain. You've recently arrived, I've been here for a while, and the whole point of this system, right, is not that, like, I don't care if you want to go become a billionaire or you want to go become like some, you know, minimalist or something. I would just look at that soul or any soul and be like, guys, if you're smarter than this moment, you've already found what you need to notice next. That means honesty is so powerful, and without honesty, you cannot find truth because you don't trust the moment. Honesty is really just the soul coming into terms with how it was in the room before the mind and body started doing their theater show. trying to find a song here that I could play. Let's go old school. Yeah. Okay, it's not that old school, but whatever. So to continue, I'm trying to say, like, in the most politest and at the same time fascinating way, that we're all living in a known simulation in an unknown world. Just take that in. Just take a moment and just consider what I just said. Everything you have ever known, its meaning has extended from your greatest height of awareness. You are not just your name. You are not just the memories that you in some sense were realities you lived through. You are that which is simply the range of awareness of your being. It's a certain range. And it's like, okay, I have a human body. I am in a human world, but when as a human being I try to live in this, as a human body, I try to live in this human world, I wonder about what is the human really, and I understand it is how a species gave enough meaning, parallel meaning to reality, that what organization is like, why do people think like organized people have fascist beliefs? They're like, yo, because it's one will completely restructuring the whole moment, the whole moment's design. But but I'm not saying like super organized people are fascists. I'm just saying that it's about how the texture of reality you've experienced. For me, sometimes when I look at humans, it doesn't matter young or old. It's like when they communicate, when other human beings communicate, I'm like, I can see the quality of their information they're sharing based on how far they have seen. I'm telling you, there are souls that are entering this system and they're going to be excited about it. There's some souls who've been in it for some time and they're like, I'm bored of this. There has to be more than this. There has to be more than just being a creature that tells itself a story to remain to loops in a story just to remain oblivious to the advancement of all dimensions of reality. For me, I'll be honest with you, deep down in my soul, if they're like, what's an attribute that's like close to your heart that you would see God have? God is all al-Kabir. That means all great. That means as a soul on this earth, suddenly having this moment of searching for the most advanced view on this planet, I noticed the most advanced view was the most advanced attribute, and before I even truly searched, an answer was given. In Islam, do you know, if people just for a second stop reacting to cultural ignorance and just for a moment be like, what is the true geometry of the ideas that move that moment? In Islam, God has 99 names, and these names are his absolute attributes, all knowing, all powerful, all merciful. God is the ultimate humiliator. That means there was a time in my life where like negative things would happen, and I was like, man, why is this specific negative thing happening right now? And then later on, I was like, no, it's that who owns this world? And I'm like, isn't it strange? I consider, you know, God creating everything and God in some sense being the owner and administrator of everything. And yet here I think I have free will. That means the simulation on a psychological level is so heavy and deep. It's like wondering what your free will is in a world. They're like, yeah, man, you got free will. You can go do anything. But before you go do anything, the world has geometry and it's a landscape and system that was like, that's been here longer than you. Do you know? And for me, I don't know. I think it's because of just having the privilege of seeing like like my identity is a collection of moments where I witnessed values. Somebody, guys, my attention came to the chat. So somebody said, I'm feeling that range of awareness right now, but the mind is living fast in it. See, this is where I know that, I don't know, this might be a judgment of my limited view on your character, okay? But the unknown is so fascinating. That means that when I say you contact the unknown, that means you discover the unknown. I'll give you an example. They're like imagine this child was adopted and then lives his whole life and realizes he was adopted, right? And then suddenly realizes this whole limited world that he thought everything was true is not true, and there's another reality behind it that is giving the geometry of the actual truth. Right, so I'm telling you, we're beings that are like we just become aware of reality, and we're like, whoa, what do we do as manifested existence, right? And we simply, our actions, how do I say it? The human species goes towards excitement. I don't know, but my whole life, they're like, yo, man, as a being, like, what are you doing on Earth? I'm like, I'm just looking at this every day and being like, okay, what have I not seen that is way more fascinating than whatever value system construct I have going on? Because I'm not like, don't think like I just like end this talk and I just sit back and my mind's just like a computer calculating everything the whole time. No, no, no. It's a life force animates in accordance to intention. Like it's the difference between someone who waits for something to be given and someone who takes before wondering about value, right? To me, it's like the main modern survival of a human being is the maintenance of multiple realities at the same time. Okay? Like in the middle of you having dreams and ambitions and wanting to go be like, the champion of your own soul, the champion of the world where your soul finds itself in. At the same time, there's a biological existential reality that you have to be conscious for. That means to be a human being is to be an awareness to a bunch of systems that are maintaining one individual in such a vast and unknown system that to have any assumption that is an absolute rendition of reality seems to be strange because only the higher power would know. They're like, strangely, the atheist and the theist both agree that man could not know the higher power, even if the higher power existed in a way that the being could not, like, how do I explain it? The creator is a value, just like we open our eyes to this value proposition of the world, okay? And it's the value that is beyond form, and conditions are how forms are maintained. So God is a power. That means it's like, let me tell you what it is. It's like we've been, a species, 8 billion beings have been method acting as if they know what's going on. And we're like, yo, look at the confidence of that soul on Earth, right? And they're playing this like film, everybody's method acting, and suddenly one method actor suddenly realizes, yo, man, like my soul has not been that oblivious to reality, and realizes that it's a film set. And in some sense, the being has been method acting, suddenly realizes he's an actor, freaks out, right? And then notices that there's a director offset, just saying, keep going. Like, what is faith? The divine's like, keep going, you don't know what's gonna happen. So I'm saying it's like we're, we're in a simulated reality. We open our eyes beyond that self-simulated meaning, and we find ourselves in the unknown. And that's where your soul is present in front of your world alone, Or if you have a, let's say, if you're more advanced, your soul is also considering it is in the presence of the higher power. That means pure powerlessness. That means that, like, this is why I'm like, they're like, Mr. Within, aren't you like an advanced spiritual being with abilities? And I'm like, nah, man, it's those, some stories, you just outrank after some time. What does that mean? That means it was never about what my ego wanted, regardless of how good it was acting. It was about the intensity of what's actually going on. That means just like how parents like don't explain all of reality to a child and they let the child like gracefully experience reality, right? In the same way, you have to ask yourself what is not what they are keeping. Like, you don't have to make invisible. You shouldn't touch the unseen. As a Muslim, that's how I've learned to walk. Okay, so even you might be like, Mr. Within, are you touching the unseen? I'm like, no, no, no. I acknowledge everything is happening in the presence of the system admin. That means I can't do anything wrong because the system admin, I am conscious it is here. That means it's like whether you like it or not, the system admin is closer to you than your jugular vein and is the only being in your chaotic loneliness of ego or whatever truly knows who you are. It's a power. Like you right now, you might be like, why should a higher power like, care about me? And you should just have this view like, yo man, we're talking about the realm of forces. Like this is like deeper than what Yoda said to Luke. This is about the realization that to be an individual is to be the expression of force. Like right now, I'm moving my body to communicate to you, right? I'm in my inner realms. I'm just letting the moment with the inner realms move at a faster speed, and I just sit back, and what I see in it, I share. My eyes are open, but the question is where to. Like, what is this? This is like, I'm trying to, they're gonna be like, yo man, I thought I'm listening to a lecture. No, you're listening to like a roaring soul. Like, you don't understand. To you, I might just be someone giving a talk. To myself, every time I enter the realm of communication, I am I am in a geometric event. The movement of reality is strange because it's all about, like, they're like, yo man, what are street smart beings doing on earth? They're being like, okay, what's the actual power here? What's the power hierarchy of this planet? If you're not religious, you'd probably think like, blonde, like ignorant, egotistical, like wealthy people, right? If you're an atheist, you probably think you're being controlled by other humans, right? But for a religious person, existence, every corner and moment of it, is praising the system admin. That means the simulated remembers the power that simulated it. That's like the original memory of your being. I don't know how to explain it. It's unexplainable. As a Muslim, the soul is the secret of God, and it's also the Amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the command of the higher power. Do you know what that means? That means an ego has an analytical expectation of reality's outcome. That's the ego's power. The ego can endless like imagine we could create like characters in a story. It's like, yo man, what character would the ego be in the story? Right? The ego is like the sage that hasn't, or no, let me say it this way. Your mind can live ahead of the moment, and it has always. And it's strange how we human beings identify with a moment of being that has three levels of time: past, present, future, and at the same time, three levels of form. Solid, liquid, gas. And to me, it's like the intersection, it's the realization that your life is also what the system admin is watching, witnessing. This is why everything begins for a religious person in the name of God. It's the higher power. The higher power here is an awareness that is beyond, because the awareness is beyond all the ways manifestation moves. Manifestation cannot define it. We're legit in like these original souls in simulated bodies that as they moved in reality simulated their own minds. And now these simulated minds, which have opted into like this story of we're all individuals like on a planet, right? And we have, in some sense, it's the awakening of the deeper context of what does the moment mean, and it's based on what looks at it. That means right now, when I look at myself, I have a value, I give a value to it. And right now, the system, unimaginable higher power, and the divine surveillance state that witnesses me right now, intelligence is within a divine surveillance state. And you're like, what do you mean? Do you mean like every person's eyes are cameras for the divine? And I'm like, no, it's beyond any fathomable human thing. The moment we talk about God, we are the inferior power. It's like we're entering a moment where the ultimate value is present, right? It's like I'm pretty much saying, what did reality mean before it meant anything? Who were you before you accepted a storyline? That's what I'm saying. It's that moment where in history we're just surpassing story consciousness. Somebody in the chat section says, in that pause between normal breaths, when the mind stills and the world drops away, what voice commands divinity to rise? Is it yours or the originals? Okay, okay, that's written well. I was gonna try to say something humorous there, but it's written well. I'll say, I'll say it this way. Listen, there's people like Shiro Onomashi, this dude who, like, the higher realms came up to him and they're like, buddy, you're the incarnation of like inner silence and peace. Like, how are you even doing this? You know? Like, sure, you could go to Zen and try to be like, man, I found stillness in the chaos. What now? You're going to notice that you cannot avoid, like if I ask you, it doesn't matter who you are, if I ask you, what is the highest power in this world? What is the most advanced power of any conditional existence we find ourselves in? It is an unimaginable one. The unimaginable station of attention seems to be superior to ideological construct. I'm trying to say there's some people still wondering if this world has a system admin or not, a god or not. And there's some people who are like, yeah, it definitely has a system admin, but now what is the relationship of not individuals just to the void, but to all that the most advanced potential of the world? That means they're like, yo, man, is there such a thing as divine eyes? And I'll be like, man, it's like, for a second, forget every idea you've ever known just for one instant. And for a second, consider and be like, yo, this Mr. Within guy is like a human being that is freaking out in a simulation, but in a very, advanced way he's communicating. And he's saying we're all beyond ideological constructs. Everybody's living a hidden life. We all act like we're just our bodies, yet we are moments that have seen more, always. Now, as a religious person, I consider myself Muslim. you know what that means? That means you can, if right now a shimmering, glowing white being appeared in front of me and was like, I'm God telepathically to me, I'd be like, sorry, this is a simulated world. I don't know. Like, you can't be God. You could be God, but everything is like behind the scenes of nature is divine command. That means they're like, yo man, what's behind the smallest sign, like particle in existence that we can't see anymore? And some dude was like, 11 vibrating strings. They're like, okay, relax, bro, you know. And then, you know, and then somebody was like, yeah, the universe doesn't have an origin. It's like philosophers started giving opinions, and then it reached this point where to question the true value of all of it. Are you brave enough as a soul to be like, okay, I have simulated in a certain way for this time. I have noticed the presence of my attention, and I have noticed behind the scenes of every movement of any particle in the physics of reality, behind the physics of reality, what the metaphysics actually was the divine command of the system admin. For me, I'm like that dude who opened his eyes in the world, who looked at the world and started getting clues that it's been designed by an owner. So to me, it's not just Buddhic emptiness and I just saw myself as a non-dualistic presence of all reality. It's like, nah, man, that's old school. Like, look a little, like, open your eyes and realize, in order to build the most advanced civilization, its passion is not enough. The truth must be found. And so to truly build an advanced civilization, it means anything in existence must be able to see its most advanced value. The most advanced value is the system admin. It's like, I don't know how to tell it to you, but this world has a boss, but the boss is beyond the conditions of form. Now that boss is not just the boss, it is the creative power of reality. That means there's some people who they go their whole life just thinking of themselves as an idea. Have you ever thought that you're some kind of force of energy? They're like, all right, guys, none of you are immortal, but you're made of energy that is. And I'm like, that is the weirdest thing they could tell, like, human beings. Because that's what science, physics is. And they're like, guys, even though atoms may fill up the world, right? But inside they're 99.9% empty. And we're like, the fuck? No, it's like, what kind of world have we opted into? You know? For me, I'm like, what's the most advanced archetype? It's the archetype beyond any condition, so no condition can satisfy an awareness that is noticed beyond the conditions. If you're a soul on earth who has reached that point where you've discovered that your body is simulated, the meaning you give reality is you're simulating, and what reality is simulated by a power beyond you. You did not create the sky, the trees, and the stars that every night, their last screams echo to us as views. Their dying screams echo to us. That means that their people are like, yo man, what is starlight? And I'm like, it's too tragic to tell. It's like the last gift of a dying star to the eyes of any intelligent being that could wonder about it. The system admin has created such an incredible system, intentionally placed you in a way in this world of video game that you cannot know who you are, and you cannot know the edge of the world, and you're like, whoa, what do I do now? And egos are like, I'll tell my own story, and they just run at it. But to me, when I look at the world, it's like, okay, I have to make a decision in the presence of what awareness am I truly in. Now, just to go back to the question, because I don't know if I answered it actually, in that pause between normal breaths, The chat says in that pause between normal breaths, when the mind stills and the world drops away, what voice commands divinity to rise? Is it the yours or the originals? It's 100% the originals, and before it arises, you notice the unknown. So I don't know, it's kind of like very hard for me to say if my known self has known the divine. That means I can't, like, there's something original within us that is like the final witness, like, of our moment. Like, that's the range of our awareness, okay? Right now, like, I don't know what's going on in, like, Japan, okay? I don't know if there's, like, deep societies on metaphysics in Japan, right? But I know that human intelligence has been given an opportunity to perform in front of history. We thought it was America's Got Talent. No, it's world's Got Talent. You know what I'm saying? It's like, does the world that we are born in, like, to me, there is no smart and stupid people. There's just like, how advanced can every design be? That means the moment is not conditional if the higher truth isn't. So reality is more like we're living in an artwork. We're living in a creative place. We're creating the value in how everything's been created before us and all of that. But I'm telling you, I don't know, you can be a soul standing in the void, or you can be a soul standing in the presence of the original truth. That means a higher being has no fear when it arrives. And I'm trying to say, like, in order to achieve the most advanced human being, like, think of it this way. I'm this guy in history who's saying, hey, 8 billion human beings on Earth, let's all advance together and build an advanced civilization as quick as possible, just to get us there, right? And everybody's like, okay, how do we build an advanced civilization? And I'm like, yo, everybody has to wonder about what is the most advanced reality. What is the most advanced value? Why are we all behaving in accordance to the status quo? And if the status quo was conscious enough, what was it behaving in front of? That means, am I just in the present in a world of just objects? Am I just present in a world of subjects? Am I just present in a world where these objects and subjects, either I move it or something else moves it or the world moves it? The original means you are simulated. Do you understand? Like, whoever's listening to me right now, I'm asking you very much, do you have the capability to just be like, okay, I can see your point of view, that regardless of how I have known everything in my life, I can notice the unknown, everything that I don't know, all the views on reality. And you have to find the most advanced view, and then it's I guess at that point, if you attempt to, you pretty much, life is like doing your best to find the most advanced view, to make the most advanced decision, and realizing the most advanced is beyond the human framework. In the presence of God, I am a lower power. When I'm alone, back in, like, I say back in the day, like, it's like a way I used to live before, when I was still living in shirk, which is the greatest sin in Islam, which means your attention is not considering a system admin to reality. You've either been deceived by moderators, or you've decided to work with moderators, or you've decided to not look at world intelligence at all, like the type of intelligence this whole world has. And to be human is to be in the presence of an original causal value that we are the effects of, and we are the echo of this original voice, where we're like, can we ever be that original voice? We just have to realize the design is there. Like, if you're a human and you consider yourself as a soul, You are in the presence of, I don't know how to tell you, but it's kind of like after you play the game of an intellect, you find yourself in a game where like all these advanced beings are looking at the world, and they're not going like, yo man, what's the greatest idea or story to tell. They're looking at reality and being like, okay, how does it actually express what the most advanced value is? What do we consider as advanced in reality? How advanced can we be in reality? When normality pauses, it means like the story you've been looping in for a moment, it pauses. And you're like, wait a minute, who am I before I move? And you realize you're in the presence of an unknown world. That means this whole time you've been living in an unknown world, but you've been conditioned in a known way to know it. And I'm just telling you, how many ways are there to look at the moment that you haven't wondered about? And once you reach the edge of the infinitude of your mind, you will discover not only why the idea of a system admin is necessary, but it is the most advanced. That means like imagine I just point at a chunk of land and I'll be like, guys, is this chunk of land advanced? And people are like, no, the most advanced is the owner of the land. Now imagine you've opened your light eyes in reality land, okay? And in reality land, you're like, what's real here, you know? And to be honest, I'm not saying it's like Matrix or Truman Show or something like that. I'm just trying to tell you we are way more advanced than the systems we use to express ourselves. The hidden life of every being is way more advanced than anything they've expressed. The true potential of humanity is how far can we truly go. Sorry guys, it was on mute. I said I understand the, stories we tell each other just to keep smiling. I understand the simulated nature of reality. I understand all the ways that meaning converts to the meaningless, and the meaningless converts to the meaning, and the known converts into the unknown, and the unknown moves the known, and the known tries to make a move, endlessly realizing that what it calls the unknown is the ways that reality is intelligent and present that it has not seen yet. And in one of those ways that reality is present, it is an unseen, unknown, ultimate way. That means the greatest power is the realization of the presence of truth. And if you think if it's you, your world is too small. It is so unknown. I'm like, guys, we told the kids we know everything, but really between ourselves, nobody knows anything. It's a massive exploration project. And I'm saying it has to be the most advanced exploration project in history. I'm saying that there is no some dude coming and giving a speech and everybody like, yay, everybody became advanced. No, it's an inner yearning. You care for an advanced civilization where after 12,000 days of being on this earth, you're like, yo, man, okay, I saw existence every day. In what other way is reality present that I do not know? And you come across the idea of the system admin, and then you realize the limits of your position. That means imagine you're a business owner, whoever you are listening, which employee would you hire? The one that comes and tells you honestly what their weaknesses are, and then what their strengths are, and somebody who comes and says in some sense like, this is just what my strengths are. Which one would you hire? It's all about awareness, consciousness frame. To be honest, it's I said it very like in an awesome way in one lecture. I said that like in the future, if I want to get married, I want to marry a woman who has beautiful eyes, but that doesn't mean just their appearance, their color. Do you know? Like, you got purple eyes? What? Do you know? Like original genetical purple eyes, okay? And then that's the external view of like beautiful eyes. Then there's a view of a person having beautiful eyes. Like, how far does that soul see? Oh my God. That is like fascinating for me. To me, I'm just fascinated by those who've seen the furthest of what's going on here. Anyways, folks, I guess just to wrap it up, when normality pauses, divinity was in command, because it's actually a divinely commanded universe we're in. And behind all the laws of nature, there are unknown divine commands, and these are like source code for simulated entities. You as a simulated entity, because you are conscious of original activity in a simulated realm, because you're conscious that the original power is here, because you're conscious that there's an original force moving the simulated power, that what the soul is in some sense the command of being that will forever be unknown, because our eyes walk in a world that has limitations. That means like it's the question of if everybody if imagine history and like fast forward it like a film, but imagine everybody was in some sense, imagine everybody was perfect. There would, like, everybody was like abundant. There would be no need for, like, in a perfect system, there is no need for the imperfect. But it's the imperfect that only needs the perfect. Where like these imperfect simulated forms of being, that the life force that's moving them seems to be connected. or an original command of the system admin. That means I'm like, yo man, some people still think they have personalities, and then there's some souls who are remembering the divine command of their being. The mind and the ego looks at the sky and says, why am I here? Little does it know, behind the scenes of the world that it knows, in the presence of the unknown, there are so many different values. That means you become humble quick when you discover the unknown. There is no, for me, the greater power is the creative force. And what it means is that right now when I'm giving this talk, it is like a simulated being like, all right, I see this a biological simulation. I see the ideological simulation of giving everything names and meaning and backstories, right? And I also see beyond language in the sense that I've noticed there's intelligence that moves the moment, where the outcome is never based on just luck. It is based on how hidden realities behind the scenes are deciding. And that decision actually has been commanded before we were born. It's like you're living in a film that's already been directed, and the director knows every part of it. And you're like looking at the film being like, why am I in this film, right? And then the director and the system admin being like, the director and the system admin, right? The director's like, yo, go along with the show and have faith in how it will all play out. Anyways, to go further, Divinity was in command. It's like I'm saying there's a greater unknown intelligence that is moving everything. And our whole life is becoming aware of values. And every person you see that's doing anything, it's because they have a value proposition in their mind and they're following it up, right? That means reality has it converted into a value for them and they are seeking it. If they ask me, Mr. Within, what's the greatest gift that can be given? I'll be like, there's nothing beyond God's mercy. It's God's mercy that, like, cat videos on YouTube get billions of views. It is God's mercy that ethics gets forgotten by the powerful. Do you know? Because in ignorance and sin, man finds the need for the higher power. Like I'm telling you, if you just live as an oblivious ego, this life will take you to a shaking point and you'll realize, okay, in the humility of trusting the moment, you began realizing it's an intelligent relationship. Like mathematicians are trying to, like scientists are like, yo man, what's the final equation and theory of everything, right? And at the same time, we have beings being like the simulation returns to the original. That's it. Beyond the eyes of man, truth was flawless, a being that makes no mistakes. Everything is divinely commanded to exist as such. What did you find when your soul became pure? The heartbeat of a species in the presence of a power that has moved all so far. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. May God bless, may the system admin bless all of humanity to live in the most advanced and incredible ways. We become a species that is glowing with fascination of how advanced we were. Like, the greatest compliment, the future generations open their eyes to that how advanced we lived, and they're like, not bad, you know. The search for truth is the realization you're in the presence of an unimaginable higher power. Now, how do you go on living your life? Honesty is key, of course. Like, if you're not on, think of it this way: anytime you're not honest, you're not accessing the original earth. The original state is what simulated beings seek. What the original being is witnessing you and being like, when do you get it? The moment is originally powered. In Islam, we say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praise due to the Lord of the worlds. That means before any human being could say, I'm Muslim, all of manifestation and existence, existential phenomena was worshipping the system admin. It knew the value that created it. We're living in an incredible time. We're going to witness way more and more, like it's going to speed up more and more advanced human beings, advanced activities. We're going to activate the most advanced sectors of envisionment for the human mind, all of us. Because in an advanced civilization, guess what? If you have a good day, bad day, it doesn't matter as much as you just having this awesome feeling that civilization is advancing. It is becoming responsible for the might of its divinely existential positioning. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.